The sound cut through the stillness. A sharp, distinct crack, unmistakable. The crack of a heavy foot landing squarely on a dry twig, close, too close for comfort. The sound reverberated through the trees, a clear signal in the quiet night. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the dead silence of the woods. Each pulse echoed in my ears, drowning out any other sound. I froze, every muscle screaming at me to run, to put as much distance as possible between myself and that sound, but my feet felt bolted to the earth as if roots had sprung up and anchored me to the spot. The sun had vanished hours ago, swallowed whole by the dense canopy above. My headlamp's weak beam, a pathetic attempt to pierce the gloom, barely dented the suffocating darkness. It illuminated only a few feet in front of me, a small bubble of light in a sea of black. I wasn't just lost anymore, turned around and disoriented. I was being watched, scrutinized by something unseen. The snap hadn't been an animal blundering through the undergrowth. It was deliberate, measured, something bipedal, heavy, with a weight that spoke of muscle and bone circling me slowly and methodically in the pitch-black Massachusetts wilderness. I swept my light in a wide arc, a desperate attempt to find something, anything, just tangled trees and underbrush. A wall of green and brown that offered no comfort, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to grab me, clawing at the air. Nothing, just empty space beyond the reach of my light. But the feeling of being observed intensified. A palpable pressure pressing in from all sides, suffocating me. This wasn't just fear, the normal apprehension of being lost in the woods. It was something ancient, something malevolent, something that had been here long before me. I'd come for adventure, a brush with local legends, a chance to test my courage. Now I was part of the legend, a terrified character in a story I might not live to tell, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires. I tried to rationalize, a deer, a bear, perhaps startled by my presence. But my gut knew better, screamed a warning that my mind refused to acknowledge. The sound was too precise, too intentional to be the clumsy movement of an animal. The silence that followed was too profound, too complete, a suffocating blanket that muffled all other sounds. I clicked off my headlamp, plunging myself into absolute impenetrable blackness. If I couldn't see it, maybe it couldn't see me. A desperate hope, a childish belief in the power of invisibility. My senses went into overdrive, straining to pick up any sign, any clue. I could hear my own blood rushing in my ears, smell the rot of leaves and damp earth, feel the cold air prickling my skin. And I could still feel those unseen eyes fixed on me, burning into my back. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting, listening. Every rustle of leaves, every groan of a branch sounded like a footstep, each noise amplified by the darkness and my fear. I was an unwelcome guest in this place, and the host was making its presence known, staking its claim. I backed away slowly, each step deliberate, my boots squelching in the mud. Another twig snapped, a sharp, distinct sound that echoed in the darkness. Behind me, closer than before. My desperate gamble with the darkness, my attempt to disappear, had failed miserably. It knew exactly where I was, every move I made. I was no longer alone in these woods. The legend, the whispered stories of something ancient and powerful, was real, and it was hunting me. My nightmare began, innocently enough, with a spark of curiosity. A fascination with the unknown, the unexplained. The Freetown-Fall River State Forest, a sprawling expanse of green, sits squarely at the heart of the infamous Bridgewater Triangle. It's a place where the ordinary world seems to thin, where the veil between realities might just lift. This isn't just any forest, it's a 200-square-mile patch of southeastern Massachusetts, a region notorious for the paranormal and the downright bizarre. UFOs, Bigfoot sightings, restless ghosts, strange and unidentifiable creatures lurking in the shadows. This place has it all, a veritable buffet of the unexplained, and like a moth to a flickering flame, I wanted to see it for myself, to walk the very ground where so many chilling stories and urban legends began. My plan was simple, almost naive in retrospect. A day hike, take some photos and be back before the sunset painted the sky. I wasn't looking to prove or disprove anything, just to soak in the atmosphere, to experience the legend firsthand. The forest's history is as dark and tangled as its dense canopy, a history steeped in sorrow and mystery. Local legends whisper that the land was cursed generations ago by the Wampanoag tribe, after it was unjustly taken from them by settlers centuries ago, a wound that never truly healed. More recently, in the darker corners of its past, it served as a clandestine dumping ground for unsettling cult activity throughout the turbulent 70s and the excessive 80s. Still, armed with my research and a healthy dose of skepticism, I went in, naively thinking that knowledge would somehow protect me. I parked my car near the main entrance, the last vestige of civilization before the wilderness took over. The air was thick and heavy, pregnant with an unspoken tension, the forest seemingly swallowing every sound, creating an unnerving silence. I carefully traced my intended route on the tattered map, adjusted the straps of my backpack, making sure everything was secure, and with a deep breath, I stepped from the warm, inviting sunlight into the cool, damp, and perpetual twilight that reigned beneath the dense canopy of trees. With each step, I was walking deeper and deeper into the very heart of the Bridgewater Triangle, completely unaware that it was already subtly preparing to swallow me whole, body and soul. The adventure, or perhaps more accurately, the nightmare, had officially begun. The first hour felt normal, well-defined trail, sunlight dappling through pines, a sense of calm. But as I ventured deeper, the trail faded, the trees pressed closer, and the temperature dropped. An unnatural silence settled. No birds, no insects, just the sound of my own footsteps. I found a crooked sign, "Turn back. They watch." I snapped a photo, thinking it was a prank, but the words felt like a genuine warning. I checked my compass and map. Still on track, I thought. The terrain grew swampy, the air foul with sulfur. Strange, ancient carvings marked the tree symbols that weren't trail markers. They felt like territorial warnings. The peace was gone, replaced by dread. The forest was no longer beautiful, it was menacing. I pressed on, but every step felt like trespass. The stories weren't just stories anymore. I was deep in the unknown. The forest was changing, and so was I. I felt watched. And I kept walking. Hours passed. The trail should have looped back, but everything looked the same. Gnarled trees, oppressive canopy, silence. I checked my map and compass. The compass needle spun in lazy circles, useless. Panic stabbed through me. I'd heard stories of magnetic anomalies here, but never believed them. Now, my lifeline was gone. I tried to retrace my steps, but every direction looked identical. A maze of green and brown. The trail had vanished, as if the forest erased it behind me. The sense of being watched returned, stronger than ever. I shouted for help. My voice was swallowed by the woods. No echo, no reply, just suffocating silence. The sun dipped lower, shadows twisting like living things. I was lost. The realization hit like a physical blow. Fear warred with confusion. How could I be so turned around? It felt as if the forest itself was shifting, deliberately misleading me. I was alone, disoriented, and the daylight was dying. The legend was closing in, and I was trapped. Darkness fell. My headlamp's beam was a feeble island in a sea of black. Then the whispers began, sibilant hushed voices in a language I couldn't understand, coming from all directions. I huddled beneath an ancient oak, exhausted and terrified. The whispers carried sorrow and anger, as if the land itself mourned and resented my presence. Suddenly, a deep rhythmic drumbeat echoed from the ground, slow, steady, ancient. The folklore spoke of ghost dancers, spectral powwows, spirits forever reenacting rituals in the night. The drumming grew louder, the whispers rising with it. I pressed my hands over my ears, but the sound vibrated through my bones. I was an intruder at a sacred, dangerous ritual, and I didn't dare open my eyes. The drumming stopped abruptly. The sound swallowed by the dense woods. The sudden silence was unsettling. Silence returned, heavier, more terrifying than before. It pressed in on me, a suffocating blanket of nothingness that amplified the pounding of my own heart. I opened my eyes, blinking against the darkness, and swept my headlamp across the trees, searching for any sign of what had caused the drumming to cease. Nothing but endless woods, a solid wall of trees that seemed to stretch on forever in every direction. The beam of my headlamp cut through the darkness, revealing only more of the same. But the feeling of being watched was back, stronger now, a prickling sensation on the back of my neck. Focused, intense, and coming from a thicket 50 yards away. Something was definitely out there. I held the beam steady, trying to pierce the darkness and see what lurked within the shadows. At first, nothing. Just the dense, impenetrable darkness of the forest. Then, a glint. A tiny spark of light reflecting back at me, 2 points of deep, burning red, like embers glowing in the night, eyes, watching me, low to the ground, too far apart for any animal I knew. Definitely not a deer or a fox, not green or yellow, red like hot coals burning with an unnatural intensity. Terror washed over me, cold and paralyzing. This was no ghost, no figment of my imagination. This was something alive, something real, and something dangerous. Legends of puckwudgies and cryptids, Whispered tales of creatures that roamed these woods flashed through my mind. The creature watched, unmoving, a silent predator assessing its prey. Its crimson eyes locked on me, burning holes in the darkness, promising pain. I backed away slowly, never breaking eye contact, trying to maintain some semblance of control. My foot snagged on a root, hidden beneath the fallen leaves. I fell, stumbling backwards, my headlamp knocked askew and flickering out. Total darkness. I was blind. Panic seized me, a wave of pure, unadulterated fear. I fumbled with the lamp, desperate to restore the light, to see, to know what was coming. I heard heavy shuffling from the thicket, closer now, much closer. I smacked the lamp against my palm. Light flickered on, weak at first, then steady. The red eyes were gone, vanished into the darkness as if they had never been there at all. The shuffling stopped, leaving only the sound of my own ragged breathing. The clearing was empty, devoid of any sign of the creature I had just seen. It had vanished, swallowed by the darkness. I was alone, or so it seemed, but I knew I wasn't safe. The forest was alive with secrets, ancient and unknowable, and something was hunting me, stalking me through the trees. I had seen the eyes of the legend, the eyes that haunted the nightmares of those who dared to venture too deep into the woods, and survived, barely, shaken to my core, forever changed by what I had witnessed. I ran, crashing through the underbrush, driven by primal fear. My flight led me to the base of Profile Rock, the ledge, a place of legend and sorrow. The air was thick with misery, the stone radiating despair. I skirted the cliff, searching for escape, when a scraping sound echoed above. My headlamp caught a figure perched halfway up. A grotesquely thin, elongated shape, limbs bent at impossible angles. It moved with jerky, insect-like motions, clinging to the rock. 2 red points of light, its eyes, locked onto me. The same creature from the thicket. It had followed me, or waited for me here. It let out a low, guttural chittering that echoed off the stone. This was the creature of the ledge, the cryptid of local nightmares. I didn't wait. I turned and fled, the chittering chasing me into the dark. The legend was real, and it wanted me gone. I ran until I collapsed, defeated and shivering in the mud. The forest had broken me. I was convinced I'd die here, another lost soul. Then, a steady white light appeared in the distance, moving through the trees. A human voice. "State Police, is anyone out there?" Hope surged. I forced myself up, screaming for help. The beam found me. A state trooper emerged, calm and solid. Relief overwhelmed me. I babbled about what I'd seen. Whispers, red eyes, the thing on the ledge. He listened, not dismissing, not confirming. Just wrapped a blanket around me and said, "Let's get you out of here. You're safe now." Those words were the most comforting I'd ever heard. I was rescued. The nightmare was over. Or so I thought. The walkout was a blur. Civilization felt unreal after the forest's darkness. The trooper explained away my story. Wind, animals, iron deposits, rational, convincing. For a while I almost believed him. But I know what I saw, what I felt. You don't forget pure terror, you don't forget red eyes in the dark. My advice, respect these places. Go prepared. Never hike alone. Some legends are rooted in truth. Some places hold on to their pain and secrets. The Freetown-Fall River State Forest remembers everything, and doesn't always welcome visitors. I never went back, but it never left me. Sometimes on quiet nights, I still hear the whispers. There are mysteries we're not meant to solve. Weeks later, I found a small black stone in my pack, carved with a strange symbol, a souvenir from the forest, a reminder I was there, and it remembers me too. Some stories never end.